coming to you with another recommendation video. It is Adventurerathon again, and therefore I have to give you recommendations for what to read. Now, a lot of these prompts that we have this round are very individual, so I can't give you too many recommendations for anything, but I can give you recommendations. I'm surrounded by books. I can give you recommendations for the few prompts that are not so individually based, so that's what we are going to do today. So for the prompt of, let me check my notes, author you have read the most of, I can tell you what to do. Something that makes you uncomfortable, again, I can't tell you what to do. A book that is written by one of your favorite authors, I don't know your favorite author. And a book that has been on your TBR for more than 3 years, I don't know your TBRs. Go figure that out for yourself. You have brain cells, I'm sure you can use them. Just go. Don't ask ChatGPT, just do it yourself. It's not that hard. Oh, also a book based on the colors of your favorite soda. I don't know what you're putting in your body in terms of liquids. But footnote, if you are a water drinker like me, we got you covered. We can work with that. We can work with that. If you don't drink soda, we got you. Just go into Discord, go on Instagram, go into my comments, go into Kirsty's comments, ask. We will help. We got you covered. It's fine. It's fine. We find a book for you to read. Now, if you want recommendations for the prompt to read something with autumnal vibes, I will not give you a list of recommendations in this video because I already made a recommendation video like 2 weeks ago or something. So just go into one of these corners or again down in the description below. I have a video for that. Go look at my spooky recommendations. There are not just spooky recommendations in there. There are also fall recommendations in there. And have at it. Look at me professionally cross-promoting my own shit. But, of course, there are prompts I can give you recommendations for, so let's go and start with those stacks that I have assembled here for you. The first one is to feature something that is upside down on the cover, and for that I have Crimson Wolf by Seishi Kishimoto for you. This is, by the way, written by the twin brother of the guy who invented Naruto, footnote, I guess. And as you can see, one of the characters on the cover is upside down. And this one is a very cool action take on the Little Red Riding Hood story. It is completed in 4 volumes. They are all this normal manga size, so you can actually read the whole series in one go, and the first volume has an upside down thing on the cover. You can also read Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor, which is a beautiful story about a guy trying to figure out why he is the only one remembering a whole ass city that just disappeared from existence a couple of years ago. I love this one, has beautiful writing. Sadly, the German edition was cut in half for some random reason. I don't know why, so if you want to read this, either get the full edition or get the English one, because the German publishers were dumb. You can also read King of Battle and Blood. And yes, this might be a stretch, but if you think about it, these swords are upside down. The pointy bit is not supposed to point to the floor, right? It's supposed to be like pointing up or like through someone else. So I count it. This one is about a girl being forced to marry a vampire overlord in order to protect her country from vampires, from his conquering, I guess. It's very much an enemies to lovers, like they literally try to kill each other at one point. I also like to describe this as a candy read because you can get through it very quickly. I read this in like 2 days because you don't need too many brain cells to understand what is going on. You could also read Witchmark by C.L. Polk, which is a fantasy version of old-timey England, and we follow a doctor who came back from the front lines and is now trying to treat soldiers in a world where PTSD doesn't yet exist as a diagnosis, but he's like working on it. He's trying to figure out, okay, what is wrong with these soldiers that they are all losing their shit, and he's trying to help them. And as you can see, we have 2 people upside down on this cover. Fun fact. My edition glows in the dark. The title and the spine of the book, it just glows in the dark. It's very weird when I turn off my light. I had a little jump scare first when I first got this. I was not expecting my book to glow in the dark. But here we are. You can also use Witchmark by C.L. Polk, by the way, for the next prompt I'm going to give you some recommendations for, which is read something with a silhouette on the cover, because as you can see, we have 3 silhouettes on the cover. Soldier, doctor, trying to help PTSD patients. Oh, by the way, this also has a queer storyline in it. More silhouettes on more covers are to be found in the Ruinous Love trilogy by Brynne Weaver. which is a Butcher and Blackbird, which is two serial killers falling in love while they have an annual showdown about hunting down a specific target. Book 2 is about a contract killer who is desperately trying to retire, and he is falling in love with another serial killer who has a thing for arts and crafts. And book 3 is about a doctor who accidentally picks up a serial killer on the road from a traveling circus. They are all hilarious. I love them dearly. Read them if you're in for rom-com. They are also famous for their interesting trigger warnings of accidental cannibalism. The accidental cannibalism wasn't even that bad, I think. You could also try and read The Undertaking of Heart and Mercy by Megan Bannon, which is another rom-com about two people falling in love in a Wild West fantasy setting. They don't even realize that they are falling in love with each other because they are writing anonymous letters to each other. And then at one point they figure it out and things happen. It's a happy, fun time. I love this book. And the setting is amazing. What? The next prompt is to read something that features or centers around story and or language. And for that one, I give you The Library of the Unwritten by A.J. Hackworth, which centers on the titular Library of the Unwritten, which is a library in hell where all the stories that never got an ending end up, and we follow a librarian as she is trying to hunt down a character who climbed out of his book and is now trying to hunt down his author so that the author may finish his story. Problem being, if a character from the story informs the author about the story, shit gets wonky. So these books are supposed to be in the library and the characters are supposed to be in the books and not outside, and now we have to hunt this character down before shit happens. It's a very fun read about the art of storytelling and what it can mean to a person, and yes, good shit. Speaking of weird libraries, you could also read The Starless Sea. This is a book that is mostly vibes and not a lot of plot. I like to describe this one as a little matryoshka of storytelling, because you have stories within this book, and within these stories are other stories, and all of them technically link back to the major plot line, but it's like so deeply buried under all of these stories that it's kind of hard to see where shit is going at any given moment. I loved it. The storytelling in here is amazing, and it's also, again, it's a story about these stories, but at the same time you're being told these stories. It's a convoluted mess if you listen to me describing it. This is a book that you have to trust. Just go with the flow, let the book take you somewhere. And that somewhere is probably somewhere else from everyone else who has read the book, because that's just how this book works. It's beautifully written. I love it. Little stretching of the prompt, because of course I have to stretch the prompt a little bit, is happening with Ink and Sigil by Kevin Hearn. Now this book is not about storytelling. It's also not technically about language. Our main character actually is mute. He is cursed to never speak a thing, because when he talks, bad shit happens. But he is also one of the last few people who possesses a specific kind of magic. He was taught this magic by the gods. And this magic centers around inks and certain runes, sigils that they draw with these inks. And this magic system is so important because it keeps the balance between the mythical world and our human world. It is very integral, and there are only a few people left who could do this. And this character basically shows us the world of how he is mixing these inks and what ink does what thing and what the ingredients do with the ink and the magic you use it for. What you inscribe the runes on is very important. The tool you use is very important. And since runes are a kind of writing and you can connect these runes to make the spell more complex and shit, I think this fits because writing is a form of language, is a form of communicating. So yeah. We also mention a bunch of pantheons and gods in here, so technically there's also this storytelling aspect in it if you squint a little. I count it. If Kirsty doesn't, that's not my problem. I already filmed the video. You could also read The Empress of Salt and Fortune if you need something shorter. This is by Niveau, and it follows a priest who is going to an abandoned mansion, palace, thingamathing thing, because their job is to record things that they see, that they find, the things as they are. But in that mansion they meet a woman who lived there when an empress lived there, and they stay together in that mansion now, and every time they find something of interest, the old lady starts telling the story of that item or a story that is connected to that item, and she just remembers, and the priest is recording that because they are supposed to. So it's a story about someone telling a story. And the last prompt that I can actually help you with is the prompt to read something that has a dystopian setting, an apocalyptic setting, or a grim dark setting. Very stretchy. First recommendation I have for you is Hell Followed With Us by Andrew Joseph White, which is a post-apocalyptic setting. Technically the apocalypse is still kind of ongoing in this one, and we follow a trans character who is being turned into a bioweapon to end the active part of the apocalypse and turn it into the post-apocalypse, because this character has been used and abused by a fundamental Christian organization that has brought upon the world this apocalypse, and they are now turning him into a bioweapon to finish the job. But he runs away from home and finds his people in a queer youth center because he is a trans character and he is not really consenting to being turned into a giant bioweapon monster. I love Andrew Joseph White. Go read his books. The next one is a bit of a stretch, but also not. But you have to read the book in order to figure out that it is not a stretch. And I'm talking about Ashes of the Sun by Django Wexler. Now this book is not grimdark. It's also not apocalyptic. But technically it is a post-apocalyptic setting, just that society has already mostly recovered. But still, I count it because the two species that went to war and basically annihilated each other in the past are still present in this setting. One of them is present by basically having left people with magical powers and certain artifacts and weapons that are still being used, even though no one knows how they work or where they come from or how to replicate them, but they scavenged all of that shit and are now using it. And the other part is mutated monsters and toxic fallout zones that are just left from this war. And one of these species is actually still alive. So technically it is a post-apocalypse, just not from the perspective of the characters we read about. It's the post-apocalypse for other people. The society has already basically recovered again and is now living in this post-apocalypse. It goes a bit further into the whole post-apocalypse when you read the book, but I can't tell you more because that would be spoilers. You could also read The Savage Song by V.E. Schwab, because this one is technically post-apocalypse, if you think about it. Because at some point something happened that now turns violent acts into physical manifestations. Like, depending on what kind of violence you commit, your shadow will detach from you and turn into an active monster that is actively killing people. So you have to be very selective about who you let into your city and how you treat certain people who have committed a violent act. Because even accidental violent acts can turn out these monsters. And one of our main characters is one of these monsters. He was born from a mass casualty event. A bunch of people died, and suddenly there was a guy, and he's now eating souls. Like, these monsters are out there feasting on people. And society basically collapsed because of it. Another book you can read is The Princess Poisoned Vow by Haley Turner. This one too is like a fantasy setting, but actually this fantasy setting is born out of a sci-fi apocalypse. Like a sci-fi society had a apocalyptic event, and now we are left with a society that is basically a fantasy setting. And this apocalypse also can still be felt. The bloodlines of this world are very important because of what happened in the post-apocalypse. We have a bunch of characters that are basically gods that survived this sci-fi apocalypse and are now trying to manipulate the lifestyle and the life of the people that are now living in this society. You also have toxic wastelands, you have fungus zombies that ravage the world. There's a lot going on. So the setting is very post-apocalypse without society being in a post-apocalypse mindset, basically. It's very heavy on the world building. It is very confusing because a lot of characters are in here and a lot of characters play a very important role, so you might want to take notes while reading this. And the last recommendation I have for you in this video is Blackwing by Ed McDonald. Given that all my other post-apocalypse dystopian books are red-coded, I feel the urge to show book 2, because that is red. But I will show you book 1. This is not post-apocalyptic, technically. Again, there are major cataclysmic events that happened in here that scarred the world in a very bad way, but it is not technically yet the post-apocalypse, but the apocalypse is kind of impending. And it is very much a grimdark setting. Like, these characters, they don't get any kind of breaks. They don't get any kind of grace. They don't do good things. They are not good people. Everything in this setting is shit. And our main character is in the middle of it, and he catches shit left, right, and center because of some decisions he made in his youth and because of the decisions he's forced to keep making. This book also has kind of a Mad Max-y setting. Like, we have the city, and there's a giant city wall. Think Game of Thrones, and behind that city wall is just a giant wasteland. That's where this cataclysmic event happened. It just went like a god exploded, and now you have like a toxic, like a radioactive toxic desert in there, basically. But instead of radioactive, is like, but it's not radioactive, it's more like magically contaminated. It's very weird, it's very hostile to live in, and we have a main character who's trying to keep the monsters in that part of the world and not in the still standing part of the world. And shit just keeps happening to him. And that's it for my recommendation video. Let me know if you have read any of these books, if any of these books are making it onto your TBR now, if this video was helpful or not. And if you don't want to talk to me, leave a bookstack emoji down in the comments below. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comments. Feel free to head to the Discord or to the Instagram page of the Adventurerathon. You can also go and pester Kirsty. We will answer all your questions. We are happy to help you with your adventures in the Adventurerathon time situation thing. Words. I stopped this video now because apparently my brain is melting and just leaking out of my ears. That's it from me. That's it from my recommendation stacks. I will now put these back onto my shelves, and I guess I will see you in the next video. Bye!